I'm a vehicle guy. The real draw card for the G.I. Joe line was not the figures, but their interaction with the myriad of tanks, jeeps, choppers, and planes, and the play possibilities that the vehicles suggested. And no vehicles fired my imagination like the jets of the line. They were also premier pieces, often featuring better engineering with rubber tires and functioning landing gear. They were pricier, came in larger boxes, got a great deal of media exposure, and were just so damn cool. But for every Sky Striker there was a Rattler, for every Night Raven a Conquest. What I'm saying is that there were intermediate-sized jets too, and none of these were more essential than the Cobra Hurricane. The Hurricane represents the first dedicated Cobra air superiority fighter. The Rattler was a ground attack plane, as was the Firebat. The Night Raven was a spy plane, the Stellar Stiletto was a transorbital rocket plane, the Condor a bomber. But not only is the Hurricane a dedicated dogfighter, its pilot is as well. Vapor is touted on the file card as an unbeatable sky warrior, with an uncanny ability to knock out almost every enemy fighter in the air. It's clear that a gaping hole in the Cobra Air legions was being filled by both pilot and machine in the form of Vapor and the Hurricane, and it is a formidable pairing. The craft is short, sharp, armed to the teeth and full of surprises. Armed with 11 missiles of the same type, the blueprints are unhelpful in identifying them. If I were to guess, judging by their size, I would say that they were short-range heat seekers designed to play into the craft and the pilot's strength of intense, brief, close-in air-to-air engagements. 6 mount onto the wing hardpoints, 2 onto the canard wings, 2 onto the fuselage, and 1 stored in the VTE-490 drone. There is plenty of precedent for drones in Cobra. The Claw, the Firebat, the Night Raven drone. But in the case of the Hurricane, we have a true drone, no capacity for a pilot. The VTE-490 is a diversionary vehicle with a single missile for bite, ensuring that every Hurricane brings its own wingman to the fight. Plus it has a spring-fire launcher for us big kids to ignore. Beyond the ample missiles and the drone, the Hurricane possesses a single cannon with its own play feature. Pull back on the tab and the barrel will spring forward. It is not a very good feature, but it's there. The blueprints laughably call it a dual fuselage underside 75mm cannons. But there is only one cannon, and you typically find a 75mm cannon on a tank or armored car. It's far more plausible that this gun is closer to 30mm, akin to what you'd find on Sukhoi's flanker. But the ship is only as good as its pilot, right? Vapor was largely ignored by the G.I. Joe media. Anyone, including the dreadnought Naugahyde, could pilot Hurricanes in the DiC animated series. And in the comic, the specialized pilots were never given the kind of feature that the Stratoviper and Star Viper were given. So the field is wide open for us to extrapolate. I like to think of the Vapor as a further progression of the Cobra pilot. The Stratovipers undergo surgery to increase their resistance to hypoxia and hyperventilation, and are cocky as hell. Star Vipers have an electronic shunt introduced into the right side of their brain, allowing their reflexes to be stimulated by electronic impulses fed to them by their Stellar Stiletto, with the consequence of being generally distracted and disorientated between missions. In the case of the Vapor, there are shunts directly into the pilot's optical nerve. Working in symphony with a sophisticated helmet and voice recognition software, the Vapor has unparalleled awareness of the aerial battlefield, and quicker reactions than his contemporaries and enemies. But in the case of Vapor, the trade-off is far more serious than just being an asshole or being flighty around base. Vapor pilots suffer debilitating vision loss and excruciating headaches after half an hour of being plugged in. The price of such tactical awareness is a massive overload to the visual center of the brain. That sounds pretty serious, and it makes me glad that the Hurricane is a 2-seater. Have a Stratoviper handle the takeoff and cruise. The Vapor can take over when it's time to engage. That's if you can find a Stratoviper willing to play chauffeur to one of these freaks. So, what do I like about the Hurricane? It fills a hole as a dedicated dogfighter. It follows a similar pattern to the Rattler in that it can operate without runways. And that kind of flexibility fits right in with Cobra's modus operandi of being able to operate just about anywhere and do so very efficiently. I do like that it has no real-world equivalent. It might take a few design cues here and there, particularly the canard wing style of the Saab Viggen, Gripen, and the Eurofighter Typhoon, but it is ultimately its own thing. It's suitably futuristic to fit in with Cobra's aesthetic, and surprisingly the color does not offend me. Sure, it adds yet another shade of blue to Cobra's already crowded spectrum, but it's a tone of blue that no Joe vehicle rocks. Except maybe the Barracuda? But who remembers the Barracuda anyway? And I've tried reimagining the Hurricane in red or black or purple, it just wouldn't look right. This plane, as I say, is its own thing, and it is something altogether special. It's got a removable cover. How many 90s vehicles can say that they have that? What I don't like about the Hurricane are some of the design oddities. The VTOL mechanism sucks. The mechanics are not quite perfect. I believe there are fragile tabs that lock the wings in their flight mode to keep them in place. Well, if that is the case, this sample lost those tabs somewhere along the line because the wings are always at a slight sag. Like the Rattler, the engines and wings are linked. You can't go VTOL mode without the wing surfaces going vertical. This is hugely impractical to begin with, as it renders the wings completely useless, beyond useless, obstructive to aerodynamics even, until they rotate into flight mode. But the Hurricane goes one better. I mean worse. Its landing gear is not independent of the VTOL transformation feature, so you can never display a parked Hurricane with its wings horizontal. And you can never perform a conventional landing with a Hurricane. Not that you would want to land conventionally anyway, because the landing gears suck. Tiny, yellow, grooved rollers. That's a cheat. But then again, with the engines pointed earthwards, this thing can't even taxi on the ground. You have to get out and push. I also question the aerodynamics of the spoiler onto which the drone mounts. I'm pretty sure having a crossbar between your vertical stabilizers will create some pretty turbulent airflow, but realistic concerns like that mean nothing to a plane that looks like it would perform better in outer space anyway. In the final analysis, the Hurricane's function is what pulls it through all scrutiny. Tired of having your Sky Strikers mercilessly plow through wave after wave of Rattlers, Firebats, and Condors? Well, the Hurricane is there to crash the party. Though to be fair, the chief opponent of the Hurricane in 1990 was none other than the Joe's repurposed Night Raven, the Sky Raven. And you can bet Vapor knows every trick in the book to bring one of those birds down in flames. The Hurricane is a good jet, not Cobra's best, but it's the best at what it does. And what it does is jet combat. And that is the best fun you and a friend can have with your rival jets. Cobra!